I am going to share here on the screen a handout where we can see exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll explain to you what voiceless, voiced sounds are, because you need to understand this. This is very technical. But Fabio, do I really have to know that? Because for me, it's kind of hard to remember the rule. Well, we need a lot of practices, for sure. When I started studying pronunciation for 1 year, I could speak English back then already. I had spoken English fluently before. But then I decided to take 1 year of post-graduation, for sure. AP1, Advanced Pronunciation English 1 and 2. But I learned during this course that I had a lot of problems with pronunciation. And that's why I'm just sharing this information with you. We're going to have access to the course. You're going to really, have this material. And now I'm going to be really glad to help you to improve, to enhance your pronunciation. But as I told you, the ED, pronunciation of ED, I want you to pay attention to details, because I say pronunciation of. It sounds like, I don't care. I can say off, but off in English is double F. If I say, can you turn off the lights? It's double F. If I have just one F, I should say of. It sounds like v. It's not V. It's this sound. My God, I still have problem with the sounds of letters. So you have to go back. You're going to see my previous class where I explained to you the differences between the letters and the sounds of the letters. Because the letters, for example, in this case, letter V, but the sound is V. So here it's pronunciation of ED. But as I told you, you can have ED for the past tense, the past participles, and adjectives. And I'm going to read the first paragraph. Check. ED appears at the end of regular verbs in the past tense in English. Past tense. Example, wanted. I'm going to say it again. Wanted. It's important for you now to see the differences between them. Wanted. The second one is helped. Helped. And the last one, lived, for the past tense. The simple past regular verb in the past. Sometimes in adjectives and in ed and ing, but here we focus on basically ed. So we can pronounce, like, for example, tired. You say embarrassed and relaxed. I think you noticed that I did not say tired, embarrassed, because I told you ed is never pronounced like in Portuguese ed. That's why students get confused sometimes, because they want to read literally. They will say like, I gotta hear that's the ed. I should say like, no, not literally. So you gotta be careful with that. The ed has its sounds, and we're going to see this today. So, and past participle, because when the verb is regular, the past tense, the past participle is the same as the past tense. If I say work, worked, the past participle, worked. It's pretty much the same, all right? But what is the problem? As I said here, however, the pronunciation of ed sometimes causes problems for non-native speakers, because it can be pronounced in 3 different ways. T, right? No. T, no, it's T. T is the letter. But Fabio, how can I really make the difference between the letters and the sounds in this case? The symbols. If you see, for example, the letter, you have the letter T there between 2 slash marks. Slash marks. When you see the symbols, if you have a dictionary, the traditional dictionary, the ones that you could have a book, you could really open up and check. We will have everything in terms of phonetic symbols between slash. As I said, slash marks. If you have a letter between slash marks, you don't have the letter anymore. You have the sound. So you cannot say T. So the sound is T. I don't remember that. So I mentioned this here before. So T for T, toilet, for T, teacher. So that's the sound, okay? The letter is D, not letter D. It's D sound. And finally, id. So we have T, D, and id. As I said before, we have the slash marks. The slash marks are the symbols that can show you the sounds of the letter, okay? Then we're going to, of course, we need to know why sometimes the ed can be pronounced as t, d, and id. It has to do with the last sound or the last letter. So we need to identify what voiceless, as I'm going to mention this, voiceless consonants and voiced consonants. Fabio, can you tell me what a voiceless is? Yeah, I know that you know what a voiceless is. If I say here, for example, the word, I'm going to speak like as if I was speaking in Portuguese, right? Topless. That's the way we say it. Topless. What does it mean? So it's no top, right? Topless. But topless is Portuguese. Because in English you say topless. One thing that you'll have to pay attention to is that when you have a suffix in English, the stress syllable comes to the first one. You don't say topless, say topless. Topless. Here, voiceless means no voice. It means that to produce that sound, you are not going to use your voice. You are not going to vibrate the vocal cords. That's the idea. You're going to see that you are going to see no vibration in your throat. So, which is something important to know exactly how you're going to pronounce the ed. So the voiceless consonants or voiceless sounds, sometimes also known as unvoiced, is the one that you cannot have vibration in your throat. Normally, I ask students to check this out. It's not something so simple because you need to, to get the gist of the sound. You need to analyze a lot of details. But when time passes by, you can identify this much better. But for example, let's stick to the word work. That's the word, work. But if you get the last sound, it's for more than you try, you cannot even feel any vibration here in the vocal cords. There's no vibrations. What would be vibration? Like this. But when I say work, there is no vibration. Here I put an example of the letter P. If you get the letter P, for example, how do you pronounce the letter P? Do you remember? P is the letter. The sound is P, 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 P. So if you have the sound P, 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 you can check. P, P. There is no vibration. So when you have no vibration on your vocal cords, the sound of letter ed should be like T. So for example, if I get work, they're going to say worked. Beep, beep. P, 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 p. You're going to say beeped, beeped. We're going to see some examples. But what I want you to identify first now, it's what voiceless is. Voiceless, no voice, no vibration of vocal cords. No vibration, the pronunciation of ed is going to be T. T. We're going to have a lot of examples, okay? On the other hand, when I say voiced, it means that you use your voice to produce the sound. When you use your voice, you naturally vibrate the vocal cords. Example, voiced. The letter L. The letter is letter L, but the sound is like this. The letter M. The letter N. Fabio, do I have to speak English that way? No, of course not. No one speaks English like, no, of course you don't need to do that. But when you study on your own, you need to know how you can differentiate, like the voiceless to voiceless to voiced sound. So you need to know how you can make the difference, and that's the way you're going to practice. Check if you have vibration of vocal cords. This is a very technical explanation for sure. You might say, I want to have something faster. I want to have something easier, to deal with. Yeah, you can have this, of course. How? Listening. Listening is the secret. I always say that one of the pre-requirements to be a good speaker is to be a good listener. It's not always a rule. You can be a good listener, but not necessarily a good speaker. Because to speak, you need your attitude, your action. You need to be proactive. That's the point. So you can be a good listener, not necessarily a good speaker. But if you listen a lot and you also trying to speak a lot, naturally you're going to speak very well. So if you don't want to really know all the rules about like pronunciation of ed in the past or adjectives, past participle, it's kind of stuff, no problem. As long as you have a lot of practices on your listening skills, problem solved. Maybe you're going to know how to pronounce the word, but you don't know the rule. I can give an example. As I already told you, my son is 4 years old. He speaks English. He pronounced like worked, but he doesn't know why he pronounced that way. It's just because he sees me in the way I speak English with him, and then he copies everything. So that's the way you have to do. You have to imitate people. Check the way people speak, pay attention, and then you reproduce the sound. Maybe you're not going to know the explanation. Here I'm giving an explanation because anytime you want to know the reason, if you want to really get back to the basics, the letters, the sounds of letters. So it's a good practice though. So you're going to know. Even if it's a new word, you have never seen this word before, if you check the last letter or the last sound, it's easy to identify when you have a lot of practices, of course. And then you can really define if it's t, d, or id. That's the point. So that's why I'm giving you this explanation. But as I told you, like here, the example, put the letter L. Someone told me once, but the letter L always has this sound. It depends. Actually, it really depends. Sometimes if the letter L is at the end, this is another thing. Because the letter L can have the sound, like leg, large, if it's in the beginning. But at the end, it sounds like this. Let me give you an example. In Portuguese, if you have someone by the name of, I'm going to spell the name, V-A-L. How do you call this person like? In Portuguese, I'm not saying in English. Portuguese, maybe you're going to go like, Vau, because the letter L in Portuguese is going to sound like U. But in English, no. In English, the letter L is like this. Val, this sound. That's the sound. So that's why you say, oh, that is very small. Yes, small. You have the letter L. Every time you have the letter L at the end, you should really make this movement. With the tongue go to the upper teeth, like the back of upper teeth, actually. So smell, and be careful. Because Brazilian students, normally they say, smell. They pronounce the L as U, and they add one syllable in the beginning because they say smell, small. No, what is the first letter? S. And what's the sound of letter S? Remember, that's what I said to you. The basic is very important. The sound is S. So I don't say smell. I say smell, small. You see that? Once the student said, but Fabio, you said smell like this. But normally, sometimes people use the object pronoun in this case. For example, if I use the object pronoun it, I'm going to say smell it. But you remember, when you speak English, normally we compress the words. So you say smell it, you say smell it. Yeah. So that's why this sound of maybe it's not going to be noticeable. It's going to be unnoticeable because you are going to combine the sound with the object pronoun. So smell it. Smell it. That's the point. So be careful with this. The letter L at the end has the sound voiced, because you can check this. As I wrote it there, a voiced consonant or sound means that it uses the vocal cords and they produce a vibration or humming sound in the throat when you are sad. If you enjoyed this tip, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and hit the notification bell for more update. And do not forget to share this video with a friend. That could be useful for them too. Leave it here in the comments what would you like to see in the next video. I'll see you guys.